I am EmKay Archlink. I am the founder of Archlink LLC, author of Unseen Powers, and a self-proclaimed advocate for those with autism spectrum disorder. I was professionally diagnosed with level 2 autism spectrum disorder in September of 2022, and I've been working to educate myself on the topic ever since. I'm here to help destigmatize neurodivergencies, starting with autism. That being said, welcome to RAW-tism, a podcast about my autistic experience and opinions on the world. On this podcast, I will be raw and unfiltered. Whether you listen to enjoy, hate listen, or just leave it playing on mute to support me, I appreciate the effort you put into my little program. Thank you! You are always welcome to disagree with me, as long as you do so respectfully and with no name-calling. I love you all. If you enjoyed this podcast, please consider rating and reviewing RAW-tism to help others find me. Ensure you're following RAW-tism on your preferred podcast streaming service so you never miss an episode. We post a new episode every Monday, but you never know when we'll throw in a special treat during the week. This episode of RAW-tism begins exploring the first module, Introduction to the Course and Modules of Disability, of my graduate school class, Medical Aspects of Autism Spectrum Disorder. Special thanks to my excellent teacher, who for privacy reasons will not be named, but you know who you are. The knowledge I am imparting to you in this episode is specifically from an extra credit reading guide I filled out using information learned from the 2003 article, Effective Educational Practice for Students with Autism Spectrum Disorders, which is cited in the transcript for this episode. Quick disclaimer, all information here is summarized or paraphrased in my own words. Topics are organized directly from my teacher's reading guide, so I give full credit to her. Educational practices are the guidelines that educators use while teaching. An effective educational practice means that whatever plan they devise works for the student. It may seem obvious to some to just give accommodations and be done, but not every accommodation works for every student. Every student is different, has different struggles, and learns differently. This is the same for allistic kids as well. Reminder that allistic means non-autistic. This is why Archlink LLC is dedicated to creating programs in schools so that every student, regardless of grades or diagnoses, gets the accommodations they need to succeed. Anyway, let's start learning about effective educational practices. Any school with a program to help autistic children should include the following 6 key components in their educational practices. 1. Individualized support. 2. Systematic instruction. 3. Comprehensive structured environment. 4. Specialized curriculum content. 5. Functional approach to problem behavior. 6. Family involvement. Studies have shown that these 6 components are essential for any well-respected and successful program. Let's examine each one individually so you can learn with me. Individualized support. No approach works for every student. They are all unique people with unique learning capabilities, which is why we draw attention to our first key component, individualized support. Individualized support means considering each student's individuality, including their family situation, comorbid disorders. If you've been listening to RAW-tism for a while, you may remember this from Season 1, Episode 9, Comorbidities. Support needs, environmental concerns, special interests, strengths, and weaknesses. When implementing the proper accommodations in their education. Family situations differ per student, but I'll dive deeper into this concept when we get to the 6 key components. What I will say now is that family preferences and the ability to support the student are essential considerations in individualized support. Another massive consideration in individualized support is comorbid disorders. A student with autism spectrum disorder, ASD, and generalized anxiety disorder will learn differently than one diagnosed with ASD and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD. Some students could have the same diagnosis but experience different symptoms, or if they're anything like me, they could have ASD, ADHD, major depressive disorder, persistent depressive disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, social anxiety disorder, and central auditory processing disorder. If you're curious to learn more about my diagnoses specifically, check out RAW-tism. Check out RAW-tism Season 1, Episode 8, My Diagnosis. This is all to say that every brain is wired differently, and every disorder should be considered when creating an individualized support plan for autistic students. Support needs are another subject that warrants discussion. Every autistic person needs different levels of support. They can be minor, such as adjusting room light, noise levels, and having access to STEM toys, or they could be bigger, requiring assistive technology, different types of therapy to help with weaknesses, or around-the-clock caretakers. There are also in-between, such as school aides, designated support persons in social situation, or extra time on tests. Every student is different, as are their needs. It's important to consider them all when applying these practices. Another aspect of individualized care is special interests. Math always made the most sense to me in school because you could turn a real-world situation into statistics and use those numbers to find an answer. Word problems were a guaranteed method to help math make sense to my analytical brain. Finding half of 5/8 doesn't seem necessary in concept, but splitting a baking recipe to serve half the amount of people and one of the ingredients is measured in 5/8 adds context and meaning. My brain understands things better when there's a story. Analyzing stories and using rules to make sense of them has always helped me. Psychology is my special interest. I'm fascinated by the workings of brains alike and unlike my own. The final aspect of individualized care we'll discuss here is employing students' strengths and weaknesses. Ideally, schools should focus each student's studies to channel their strengths and help support their weaknesses, regardless of diagnosis. For example, I'm very interested in the psychology behind actions. History class would have been more interesting and easier to understand if I had learned about the why instead of just the who did what and when. Systematic instruction involves planning goals and outlining methods on how to reach them. Every student is different, so teachers need to be flexible while doing this planning. Bouncing off of that idea, comprehensible structured environment is another key component related to systematic instruction. The environment in which schoolwork is done should make sense for both the teacher and the student. This can be achieved by trial and error. Another key component in effective educational practices is having specialized curriculum content. Creating a curriculum using the student's core deficits is essential to strengthen. Another key component in effective educational practices is having specialized curriculum content. Creating a curriculum using students' core deficits is essential to strengthening their learning environment. Each student has different strengths and weaknesses, as stated previously when we discussed individualized support. Creating a curriculum that is focused on strengthening the student's weaknesses is the best way to ensure academic success for the adolescent. Having a functional approach to problem behavior is the fifth key component to following effective educational practices. Having a functional approach to problem behavior is the fifth key component following effective educational practices with autistic students. Teachers should be focused on replacing or adjusting problem behaviors rather than eliminating them. It's much more difficult to stop a habit than to change it. Finding a better way to fulfill urges helps students be able to focus better on their classwork. For example, if there's a student who chews their nails or does skin picking, giving them something they can chew on or pick at while they're doing things is healthier for their body and could help them concentrate in class. The last key component that is essential in educating autistic children is family involvement. Every student has a different family situation. A child could have only one caregiver, a mom, a dad, a grandparent, other relative, or close family friend. Families with two caregivers can differ, having a mom and a dad, two moms, two dads, a grandma and an aunt, or some other combination of familial adults. It can get even more complicated with divorced parents, step-parents, blended families, military families, foster care families, etc. One kid might have divorced parents with step-parents who are active and positively involved in their life, while another could have step-parents who negatively affect the child or don't really interact with their lives. Everyone's situations are different. There are also other considerations as well. A student can have two loving, active parents, but maybe one of them is in the military or has chronic health condition that prevents them from being as involved as they'd like to be. Some families have poor financial standing, affecting the child's support or resources at home. The combinations are endless, and that's just covering the adults. We can get into another rabbit hole just discussing biological siblings, step-siblings, foster siblings, or other related children who are cohabitating with them. These children could get along or be miserable around each other, or they could just vibe but not really have a relationship with each other. There's so much to consider when it comes to family situations. It's never black and white. Overall, the 6 components are crucial for effective educational practices. Every aspect must be considered for the plan to fit the child's life. Thank you for listening to my first dive into my graduate school classwork. Yay! I hope you learned something new and enjoyed it as much as I did. The biggest thing I took away from this module is how many different aspects need to come together seamlessly in order to have the best education for the child in mind. Can't wait to learn more as the semester continues. As always, I am not here to shame anyone. I'm not even here to tell you what or how to think. I'm here to share the autistic experience with you from someone who is studying for their graduate certification in autism spectrum disorder, someone who for the first 22 years of their life was under the impression that they were allistic, and as someone who since September 30th, 2022, has finally found their place in the world. I am autistic. I'm a part of the autistic community, and I am proud of it. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Regardless of your thoughts and feelings toward me, I have love for every one of you. You are wanted by many, you are loved by many, and so many want you to stay in this world. I am one of these manys, and always will be. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Regardless of your thoughts and feelings toward me, I have a love for every one of you. You are wanted by many, you are loved by many, and so many want you to stay in this world. I am one of these manys, and always will be. If you'd like to support this podcast, the description includes links with referral codes to all my favorite products. The transcript for this episode can be found on my website, ArchlinkLLC.com, and also on my Patreon, which is linked below. Would you like to see more of me? In that case, visit EmKayArchlink.com for links to my other content. A new episode of RAW-tism comes out every Monday wherever you get your podcasts. Next week's episode of RAW-tism is posted on Patreon every Tuesday ad-free. Karaoke videos are posted on Patreon every Thursday. Lastly, my book Unseen Powers is available in hardback, paperback, or digitally through Amazon. Remember to drink water, eat some, and have your best life. Bye!